Next up, we have Clare Mills, seated to my left. Clare joins us from the Charity Finance Group, where she is the policy and communications team. She spent her career in a range of different policy, political and communication roles. She also lives in Northumberland, so is able to join us in person today. And prior to joining the Charity Finance Group, she was head of communications and external relations at NAVCA, which is the membership body for voluntary sector infrastructure. So we've known each other for a while, and I just happened to notice that Clare had written an interesting article on AI and ethics. And so I jumped straight on that and asked her to come and talk at our conference today. So welcome, Clare, and over to you.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks. And hello, everybody. I'm not a bot. I'm a real person. And I'm going to prove that by not knowing how to work the clicker. A little bit about Charity Finance Group. I have to start with the sales pitch. There are some leaflets over there on the table that George has very kindly put out. Charity Finance Group, like VONNE, we're a charity infrastructure body. So we're a charity and membership organisation that helps charities, social purpose organisations, whatever you're trying to do to improve the world, we're here to help as well. And our purpose is really to support a whole charitable sector that's financially confident, dynamic, trustworthy, where people put finance at the heart of that strategic decision making. And we also try to help shape a more supportive operating environment for everybody in the sector. We do that through a range of things. Firstly, by using our voice, our policy expertise, and we advocate for the sector with policymakers and decision takers. So things we've done recently have been around availability of audit, thresholds for audit, things around reporting. So that's the SORP, which ties in with accounting, and the annual return changes that the Charity Commissioner's brought in. We collaborate with other infrastructure bodies, as you can see, and we were part of the group of infrastructure bodies during the pandemic that helped secure that £750 million for the sector from the government, one of only two sector-specific chunks of money. So I hope you all got some. If not, sorry about that. I never thought I'd say 750 million wasn't enough. Wasn't anyway. And we're also part of now the civil society group, which is a long-standing, it's now going, the kind of semi-permanent collaboration between infrastructure bodies. We do a lot around networks to help charity finance professionals at every stage of their career. And we bring together expert knowledge, information and support through our online knowledge hub. We put on training and conferences, both online and in person, and provide various other ranges of support. That's enough about them. Oh no, hang on. So we try to be a go-to body for all things charity finance and the wider remit of resources, because for a lot of finance teams, they're now looking after people, HR, property, IT, digital. So that's how we've ended up with AI. And as Carol said, I'm from Northumberland. I've been there about 20 years, so it's my adopted country. Lots of people often say to me, you must work for Northumbrian tourism because you're always banging on about how amazing it is. No, but it is. So if you've never been further north than Newcastle, come and have a look. And so I don't work for the tourist board, and I'm not an AI expert, spoiler alert. But what I am, as I think you'll find in many communications people, is I'm really, really nosy. And I like finding out about stuff and learning and thinking. And actually, I've always been interested in using digital tools, in new ways of working, in trying to find the hacks, really, trying to find ways of doing things, using the tools we can to do them better and quicker and have more time for that creative thinking. AI interesting, is the word of the year, isn't it? You might have seen that word. It's the word of the year from Collins Dictionary. It's hallucinate if you look at the Oxford English Dictionary. And as AI can produce hallucinations, it's quite a nice crossover. If you use a popular search engine, Google, and search AI plus charity, you'll get 24 million hits in just under half a second. So there's an awful lot out there. Carol chanced upon the article I'd written, but I think she could have probably found another 937,000 articles written about just charity and AI.
But I know you.
Yeah, that's true. She knows I'm not a bot. So I'm thinking particularly about generative AI and the way we can use it to create content and material, whether that is text or images, music, audio, video, conference presentations. When I told my fellow that I was coming to speak about AI in the charity sector, he immediately went on to Google Bard and said, write me a 15-minute presentation about AI in the charity sector, and then started reading it out to me. It was very annoying. It wasn't this.
Do you want to change your slides?
Oh, no, not yet.
No,
I do few slides and I just keep talking. So what I've been thinking about is how will the use of AI or the potential of AI affect us at Charity Finance Group and also the wider sector? What uses can we have for it? What can we get it to do? Can we spot it when someone else has been using it? And then that made me think, doesn't it matter? And that's what brought me really onto ethics questions. Right now it's slide time. Has it done it? Good. Okay, so ethics, this is a bit of a step back from the tech stuff, but ethics is the social or religious or code or civil code of behavior that's considered correct. So especially that of a particular group or profession or individual. That's another Collins definition. I thought I'd stick with Collins for the word of the year. And ethics involves being trusted. We're trusted to behave ethically. If you look at the Public Trust and Confidence Data Survey, which came out in July 2023, doctors score 7.1 out of 10. They've gone down slightly. Next, most trusted, charities, 6.3 out of 10. And that had gone up. They're the only group, or we're the only group that's increased this year. Police, perhaps unsurprising, have gone down quite a bit. Government ministers get 3.2. So I don't know which government ministers because they're changing all the flipping time. Charities' mean score since about 2008 has averaged out about 6.3. So we are really well trusted as a sector. And it's really important that we retain that trust. So ethics is really, it's about a code of behaviour rooted in your values. And I'm wondering, have you and your organisations, have you done much work on your values and what they are? I'd do a Slido poll, but I didn't think of that. So stick your hand up if you've done your values. Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, our CFG values, I've put them on the screen. You know, I don't know what yours look like, but ours are integrity, dynamism, and support. And they're all really relevant to the approach we've taken to AI. Integrity, particularly, that's being trusted to speak and behave honestly. And we keep people at the centre of everything we do, whether that's our members, our charity members, our organisations, but they have staff, trustees, volunteers. It's also about our workforce, our members of staff, and our external stakeholders. Our credibility and our trustworthiness is hugely important to us, and it's at the heart of our purpose, not just for us, but for the sector as a whole. So when we come to AI and thinking about that trust, it's really important. One of the reasons is because it goes back to that, how can you spot it, does it matter question. Now, Carol's already said she and her team have been playing around with AI. Ed's job is to play around with AI. And I think you may well find in your organisation, even if you don't know it, some of your people might have been experimenting with it and having a fiddle around. And that raises a few really important questions around integrity. And the first one is about what data is the platform using and what data are your colleagues using. I went to a Charity Comms conference earlier this year about AI, and one of the statements that really stuck out for me was that technology is often harnessed by those with a poor understanding of the issues or unethical intentions. We spend a lot of time thinking about inclusivity, and we're really mindful of bias and making sure we're reflecting different voices and we're letting people speak with an authentic voice. But AI, generative AI, is only using the data it's already been given. Now, if that data doesn't accurately reflect lots of different voices, lots of different experiences, you get bias in, you get bias out. And we're a long way towards creating unbiased generative AI tools. If we've got a narrow worldview being used as the basis of what it's creating, then we're going to get a bit of a distortion of reality coming out. And we know from the pandemic that the way we responded to the pandemic created different experiences for different communities, and that people from Black and minoritized ethnic communities potentially had a much harder time of it in the pandemic and felt the effects much more. That was people thinking predominantly, but using data. If you're a machine that's thinking, you're not even necessarily going to look at the outputs and go, that doesn't quite match up with the real world. So think about the data that the platforms are using, but also think about what's the data that your people are using. Is your commercial data being ploughed into a platform just to see what happens? Is your any of your sensitive or personal data being ploughed in? So that's one thing to think about. Another issue to think about is around sources and transparency. And as a one-time academic, this really matters to me. I was taught to look out for plagiarism when I was marking student essays. And I really drill it into our team and everybody I come across, that if we're quoting somebody else's work, if we're citing somebody else's statistics, it's really important to acknowledge that, and to say, you know, this is a collaborative piece of work, because I have drawn on the definition I got from Charity Comms earlier, the dictionary definition from Collins. I'm not going to pretend I've made those up myself. But when you put material, when you ask an AI, generative AI platform to make stuff for you, it doesn't necessarily do that. You could find that people's work is being cited out of context. It may be being misused. They may not be being attributed for their original thinking. So there's that. It comes back to honesty. You know, are you presenting something? Does it matter if I'm presenting something that I've created using ChatGPT or whatever and not saying so? So for me, that's been a really important thing to think about. How do we publicly and transparently say when we've used generative AI? So time for another slide. Is it coming? Yeah. So one other thing that we've started really thinking about, and this again comes from thinking after we went to the Charity Comms conference. So I hope you'll have lots of ideas after this conference. I hope that's the point of conferences, isn't it? It's about tasks, not jobs. So this summer we heard BT were cutting 55,000 jobs, but they were going to replace 10,000 of them with AI. And IKEA, on the other hand, were retraining their call handlers as virtual designers. So they were avoiding redundancies by giving people different skills. So when you're thinking about what you might do, what your organization might do with AI, think about it in terms of not what jobs can you get done or what roles can you fill, but actually what tasks within those roles. If you keep the people at the center of your thinking, what you may be able to do is free up time for them for more creative or meaningful work. In the same way as we might have seen automation in some of our processes, we might have started, you know, using online banking to save somebody walking to the bank every day, if you've still got a bank nearby. So this can be a next step on from there. In practice at CFG and how we're using this internally, we identified 3 particular areas where we needed to be aware of opportunities and risks. The first one was around content created by us, whether that is the expert opinion we're putting on our website, updates on technical matters like VAT and tax, whether we're organising conference programmes or so on. So we thought, okay, what we want to do when we're doing anything like that, if we have used an AI platform, we will say so front and center on the material that we publish. And that seemed to us the best way to keep our integrity, to stay saying, you know, we've used this as a starting point. We've taken this piece of work. Our human brains and eyes and knowledge have developed it to fit what we want to say to our audience. We've secondly gone a step further with that, and we publish quite a lot of content from our expert partners, corporate partners, when they bring technical expertise to the table, and we are going to ask them to do the same. If they've used AI, great, it's freed up some of their time to do something else, but we want to be able to say some of this content has been generated using artificial intelligence. The third area we're really thinking about it on is in relation to recruitment. Go back to the question, can I spot it, does it matter? I've just recruited for a project officer for next year. Had 156 applicants. This is kind of entry-level role. Of those 156 cover letters, about 30 to 40 of them started with the phrase, I am writing to express my strong interest in the role of. And the first time I saw it, I thought, that sounds a bit clunky. And the second time I thought strange. And the 12th time I saw it, I thought, I know where this has come from. So I could spot it on that occasion, but only because it appeared over and over again. Now, when I'm getting people writing information because they want to come and work for me, in my team particularly, they're communicators. I want to know that they can communicate effectively without putting it all in ChatGPT. So we're thinking about how we apply that in relation to our recruitment process. We don't mind if people use tools to help them. They're going to use a spell checker, right? They might use a map if they're going to have to know some geography. So why not let them use it? But equally, just tell us, just show that you've got that integrity. The other thing was around how, you know, when our staff are wanting to use this, how are we going to make sure that we're doing so safely and responsibly? So rather than saying, just do what you like, have a play, see what you think, we're bringing in a kind of framework for behaviours that says we will use if we use this platform, we'll say so. We'll think carefully about any data we're putting out there before we use it. We'll check with somebody else if we're not sure, if we've got that nagging feeling that maybe we should just run this past someone else. So we're building a system of kind of safeguards. We work a lot through we use the phrase a lot, freedom within structure. We want people to be innovative and dynamic and come up with ideas and test things and try things against the backdrop of a massive workload, obviously, as I'm sure all of you will experience. But we want to make sure there's some safety rails in there to stop complete chaos. So going back to ethics, integrity and trust, really, what we say and do matters. If we lose our money because someone's stolen it from us or we've been defrauded, we're a victim of crime. If we lose our data because we've fallen prey to a phishing scam or a cyber hack, we're the victims of crime. If we lose our reputations and our trustworthiness and our credibility, quite often that's something that's down to us. And we can't say, well, it wasn't our fault. So I would always say, think about where you're going with your data. Final slide, I think, maybe one before one. I'll be quick. How to keep up. Actually, I'm going to skip a lot of this because this is what Ed said, basically. Be digitally fit. Learn what's going on. The main thing I would say on this very quickly is that think about, again, people at the centre and how are you going to take your team with you? And if people are reluctant, sit down with them, have a cup of tea, ask them some open questions. What are their feelings? Not what do they think, but what do they feel? Are they scared that they're going to be replaced, that they're going to be out of a job? Are they scared? Are they worried about being overloaded because they've already got loads to do and now you're asking them to take on something else? It's a bit like that cartoon of the two guys pushing something really heavy and somebody's trying to sell them some or give them some wheels and they're going, we can't, we're too busy. So have a think about that. Are they perhaps worried about not being young enough or not being clever enough to keep up? It's really interesting in the timeline that Ed showed. Society's been through this before with the Industrial Revolution, development of mass literacy, the technological revolution, and now AI. But as people, we haven't really been through that. Things happen and we absorb them, but not everybody's going at the same pace. So try to make some space for your people to have those feelings and acknowledge them, and then see where you can go from there. I've talked a lot about people. The other thing I'm worried about is quality. I'm not worried. The other thing that's in my mind is quality, because some of the people we deal with are our audiences and they expect and trust and want high standards from us. And my role in communications is partly to be the arbiter of quality for the organisation. First impressions matter. And if we can't be trusted to pay attention to the detail, if we've just let something else churn out information and we've banged it on a website or we've sent it out to all our beneficiaries, well, how can they trust what we're saying? How can they do that? AI is no different. It still needs a human eye, preferably 1, 2, 3 sets. So are you going to use AI? Well, it's up to you, really. Why are you going to use it? How are you going to use it? What for? But I thought of 3 other AIs that really inform how I'm thinking about the use of AI. Use it always intentionally. Don't just drift into it. Don't just go with the flow. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Always use it with inclusivity in mind. So is this reflecting the reality of the society you're working for? Is there, unconscious bias built into an unconscious machine? And always use it with integrity. Tell people what you're doing. That's me.
Thank you very much.